what was life like for you guys?
I remember being caught in a bomb blast. You just go into a fight or flight mode. We learn as we get older the value of our parents.
Welcome back to another episode of Side by Side. I'm your host, Kazi, Shafiqur Rahman. Our guest today is brother Adel Mozammel. So you became a teacher, and how long did you teach for?
15 years. And we have a lot of children that come to us that say, I'm stupid, because that's what they've heard. And then they begin to believe within themselves, I can do it.
He is a Bangladeshi-born Indian who grew up in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, currently residing in the UK. It seems to me like there is no space for Muslims in this world anymore.
Wow.
The topic we will be exploring today is the chaos that's happening in Bangladesh, the UK, and his involvement in education and community support. Please help me welcome Brother Adel. Brother Adel Mozammel, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to Side by Side.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making this happen at a very short notice. I know I always say this, but definitely today's one is short notice. We reached out to you in the morning, and you're here in the studio at 2 o'clock, or before 2 o'clock rather. Thank you.
We're honored.
Now, I've met you a couple of times. I think it is a couple of times. Once with Dr. Asif and once at the event in Excel.
That's right.
But we've never had the opportunity to really talk. For my sake and for my viewers' sake, give us an overview of who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Okay. So my name is Adel Mozammel. I was born in Bangladesh and I was raised in Makkah. My father's from India, Calcutta, and my mother's from Dhaka. So I'm technically Indian Bengali. And my father is, I think you may know him, Dr. Mozammel Haq, and he was very involved in Muslim education, as was my grandfather, Professor Syed Ali Ashraf, who was also an academic. And naturally, I've gone into teaching myself, and I was a teacher for many years. And then we moved from teaching into the business side of teaching and having tuition centers and Islamic schools. And that led to opening family clinics, which is a counseling service. And that has all been put under Mozammel Foundation, which is named after my father, which enshrouds all of that.
MashaAllah. How was life in Mecca?
My childhood was in Makkah. So we lived about 10 minutes walk from the Haram. So we used to go there for Maghrib every evening and stayed there till Isha.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
How old were you when you left?
8 years old. So I got here for year 6 in primary school.
So born in Bangladesh, when did you leave Bangladesh?
When I was 2 months old, because my father and grandfather were already settled in Saudi.
What were they doing? Was it education in?
Yeah, my father was a lecturer at King Abdulaziz University, and my grandfather at that time was part of the Muslim education movement at Qura.
Wow. So, mashallah, very, in educational sense, and I guess in every sense, very well respected
They are, yes.
family. Yes.
They are, yes.
Alhamdulillah. So, did you ever go back to Bangladesh?
Yeah.
When was the last time you've been?
The last time I went was after my mum passed away in 2014. And I was there. And at that time, there was also strikes, Hortal, at that time. And I remember being caught in a bomb blast in Dhaka. And I just saw at that time how scared, because I was in a busy market town with mothers, children, rickshaws all around me. And when a bomb blast goes off and you're surrounded by people that are vulnerable, you see their faces. Now, we're not really used to seeing this, but there was some groups of people that were frightened and others that were shocked. Now, children, they don't know what's going on, you see, and if you're not holding your child's hand in this situation, as a mum, like which I saw, the sheer panic of what could happen to my 8-year-old, 9-year-old child, it's I think shocking is an understatement, because it's so unpredictable what will happen at that point.
Wow. That must have been very scary. I mean, you as an adult even.
Strangely, when you don't know what it is, you just know afterwards what it is.
Okay.
You don't understand what the emotion is that you have to be experiencing. You just go into a fight or flight mode. Like, this is a situation, this is a problem, and now what do we need to do? And who is around me that I'm responsible for? So it becomes more of a, how does one respond to a situation? And really being scared in that situation is maybe didn't come to me at that time.
Okay. And how long were you there for in Bangladesh?
In 2014?
Yeah.
In 2014, I spent maybe about a month.
A month. How was it? I mean, apart from the incident, was there, I mean, obviously you went to your mother's funeral.
No, my mother's funeral was here.
Okay.
I went, I had some work in Bangladesh I had to do.
Okay.
And I went to see family in Bangladesh. And it's a really different experience when your parents are no longer with you.
Yeah.
To see family without the chaya or the shade that your parents give. See, going back and meeting my family without my mum was a different experience. And it's something that we learn as we get older, the value of our parents and the value of our wider family network. And seeing, there's a way that you see them as children and there's a way that you see them as adults. And that's where respect is formed and earned.
What was, have you been to India as well?
I haven't been to India. No, I haven't. No, I haven't been to India for many years.
Wow. And which part of India?
My father's from Calcutta.
So you guys speak Bangla like we do?
Yes.
You're a Bengali?
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting mix, by the way. I haven't come across anyone that's Indian Bengali. I'm sure there are loads out there, but I haven't come across anyone. Because when I first met you, I was like, what are you? Are you like, you seem, very interesting. And then I asked you, like, who you were and where you're from. And you said, yeah, I speak Bangla. And, and then you started speaking Bangla. I was like, okay, interesting. So you moved to the UK when you were 6?
8.
No, 8, sorry. You joined year 6. What was life like in early days of school?
To this day, I think the most interesting thing for me was how quiet London was compared to Makkah. And one of the main things you realize when you live in Makkah and when you come to the UK is that the adhan has been replaced with church bells. And there's a hustle and bustle and there's a liveliness in Makkah. But there was a quietness in London. And I think there was a real shift in the two environments. And I think it took time to transition to kind of learn the culture here. We grew up in quite a safe, quiet Muslim environment. And then we've come to a largely non-Muslim environment that has different struggles that you see for the Muslim communities. And even the Muslims in the UK are very different to the Muslims in Saudi because they came here for different reasons. And I think one of the main things you realize only when you get older is how powerful and fortunate we are that we get to experience places like Makkah, because when we're told that this is a blessed land, you don't know what blessed is until you're in a place that hasn't got that level of blessing. And I'm not saying that the UK hasn't. I'm sure it has its certain amount. But there's a blessing in Mecca and Medina that when we go, we feel it.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we yearn for it because there's something there. And that was probably the main thing that as I grew older, that I felt that I was not carrying anymore, not having. And then when I go back now, it's like, it's home.
Did you guys ever contemplate on moving back?
My father continued. He couldn't leave Mecca.
Okay.
He would come visit London and then go back to Mecca. And we used to go there like every 6 months until I was 15 maybe.
So, growing up in Saudi, I mean, Bangladeshis generally, or immigrants, they don't really have the best reputation out there, or they're not seen the way they should be seen as a human being. What was life like for you guys? Were you guys treated differently by the locals, Saudis?
So we're talking about the 80s now, right? And at that time, there was, I think, 2 categories of workers according to the Saudis, which was the white collar and the blue collar. And a lot of that time, the people that were doing the laboring, they were treated a certain way, I'm sure. But remember, we were quite privileged because we were in a university environment and we were quite protected. So we didn't get to see what maybe others may have suffered. We just didn't get to see that because I guess in any educational environment, they disagree with being racist or being stereotypical. These things are never respected in an educational establishment. So we weren't in a situation where that would have ever been approved of. But only and we didn't even know until we grew up. Then when I came to the UK, I would hear about all of these things. But as a child, you don't experience it, right? Because you're in a compound and you're with people that they all will disagree with being...
Okay. Understood. Fast forward, life in the UK. When did you realize that you needed to continue with the educational aspect of the family heritage, and then perhaps go down the business route of turning the education into some sort of source of income?
I think everyone in my family is in education, and I didn't want to. And I remember my mum said to me, Adel, I know what you're like. And when I finished my degree, she said, you have to do a PGCE. I didn't want to. I wanted to go live my life, do whatever. She said, no, whatever you do, do a PGCE first, because that will qualify you as a teacher. And then you can do whatever you want after that, because you've always got something to fall back on. It's that if you've lost your job or anything else, you can either supply teach or you will be a teacher. It's a safety net. And I left London and I moved to Scotland, to Aberdeen, to do my PGCE. And I did that in religious, moral and philosophy of education. And I did that with so much joy. It was like I loved doing it because I used to be teaching in Scottish schools, which were in remote villages. I've taught in army schools, I taught in Christian schools, and I was teaching Islam. So it was a great opportunity for me to really have a chance to explain what I thought people should be learning about, because they didn't really get to experience Muslims before.
So you became a teacher, and how long did you teach for?
15 years.
15 years. Wow. And when did you end teaching? Which year was it?
I came out of the classroom in 2019.
Oh, pretty recent. Not that recent, but yeah. So when did business come in?
2019.
2019.
2019. I opened Clever IQ which was my tuition center.
Okay, what does Clever IQ do?
It's a tuition center, so it does the main thing Clever IQ does is for Muslim students that we have two kind of elements when it started, which is that those that are struggling and those that are gifted and talented. So if you find that you're finding it difficult to access education, we will help you in overcoming the blocks that you have, whether it's language, whether it's emotional, whether it's psychological, to see what is preventing you from learning. Our main objective is that you begin to learn and you begin to become confident in learning. And sometimes that confidence is not there because of what people have said to you about your ability. Right? And we have a lot of children that come to us that say, I'm stupid, because that's what they've heard their parents tell them, that, oh, you're not going to make it. And because that is their internal psyche, I'm stupid or I can't learn, that mental block prevents them from actually even trying, because all they will do is fail, because that's all they've been told they're able to do. So one of the first things we do is unpack that, undo that damage, so that child has confidence in learning. That means we will give them work appropriate that will make them feel successful. So that the first thing when they do that task and they achieve it, you will see their faces when they come and show you, and you're like, yes, they're like, because it's undoing the damage. And then they begin to believe within themselves, I can do it. And they start going against that internal voice that said that you're stupid. They are able to challenge that voice within their own selves, because they're like, well, no, I can't be, because look what I've done here. A, well done, well done, well done. So that's not true. This is true. And then you can start scaling them up to do better.
Wow, because I think that's happened too. I don't know who is responsible, but I always felt I was stupid. Even when I was working, when I got my first job, I'm like, I'm nobody. You know, who am I to dare to think big and, you know, think something of myself?
It's you're not alone, and it happens to a lot of people that they're almost taught to not believe in yourself because you might be becoming proud. But at a certain age, if you don't have that belief, it's almost self-sabotage, because you don't want to try anything because you're so afraid of failing, or you're afraid of being proud, or but you have to really have that, you have to have that faith in God and say, in the name of God, I'm going to try my best, and then Allah will make things happen.
So Allah didn't make us stupid. He gave us in a default setting, and it's our environment that dictates how we think and how we become, or is there differences in how Allah made us?
I think what it is that in His divine wisdom, He's given all of us talents and abilities, and our job is to uncover that and explore that and do it to worship Him. Now, if you are spending your time focusing on I'm stupid or the negative, then all you're really doing is not being grateful for His mercy and not spending your time in discovering who you really are. Because the negative voices is not one that Allah has told you to focus on. That is definitely coming from shaitan or trauma, but that's what one has to be able to combat, to see what it is that you as a human being have. Because if Allah has created you, He didn't create you out of a joke. There's something beautiful that exists within you. Your duty is to uncover that and go against that which is telling you there's nothing special about you.
Wow, it's very powerful what you just said. You know, shaitan is not just our enemy because we're Muslims or something. He is our enemy because we're humans, and that is his mission, to really take us down the wrong path and destroy us effectively.
Absolutely. And you see this in families and in the depression levels that we see here. It's because a lot of the time people have lost their ability to believe in their own essence, that you are created by Allah. There is definitely something special about you. And if you're married, there's definitely something special about her. And that's something you both have to discover so that you can both have a joyful experience being slaves of Allah.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. Now, I'm sure like you come across so many people in your life and in the job that you do. Do you feel us as parents, as elders, I guess we need to really encourage and what's that word? When you encourage someone to be better, to be good, to believe in themselves, do you think we're doing less of that as I guess as a society, as a community? Because I feel like, I don't know, I haven't been in any other communities, but in Muslim communities, we like to put people down. We like to make fun of people. If someone is trying to be successful, I don't know if that exists in other communities, but I can only say for myself, generally you are pulled back.
We have to be understanding of our community and our elders, that what struggles did they come from and what struggles did they face in the UK? And why is it that they are not encouraging us? A lot of the time it may be because they face such hardship and that they had to stop, and they don't want to encourage you because you may have to experience the hardship they experienced. And what they're trying to do is protect you from getting hurt or having your dreams shattered, because maybe that's what they've experienced. And that's where we, as the younger generations, have to understand, why is it that they are not encouraging us? And it might be that they're trying to protect us. It might be that they've had their dreams shattered and they've lost that will that you might have because you haven't experienced what they've experienced. And until you're able to look at them and understand, why is it that they're not giving me this encouragement, you're going to feel bitterness towards them. But it's not that they are like that. It's because they've suffered and we aren't being able to understand their suffering.
If you had this opportunity to really connect to all the living human beings in this world right now, what would you say to them? That are alive. Yeah, that are alive. What would you say to them?
To every single human being.
Imagine you had all ears, like across the globe. What would you say to them?
I would ask every single human being that exists on earth, what reason do you have that you are not worshipping right now? And then I would let them think about the answer. And then hopefully they will come to a realization in their own selves. Those that are worshipping will be like, I am. And those that are not will be like, And then they will have that. Because man was created with intellect, with an aql. We have the ability to think, to reflect. So there is no reason why they will not be able to answer that.
How can we better prepare our children for the world that we're living in now and the world that's coming towards us in the very near future? I mean, the world we're living in, I'm sure it's not the world we lived in maybe 20 years ago. It's different. It's very different. It's very fast. So many hostilities all around the world, whether it's the UK, whether it's Bangladesh, whether it's Middle East. There's chaos everywhere. How can we be better prepared?
I think the best thing that we can do for our children is accept them and let them accept themselves. Because that internal radio station that exists in all of us, your inner voice, we have to pour the best of us into them so that they have that supreme confidence within themselves, that self-belief that they can achieve, they can do well. There is no limit to what they can do, should be their primary thing that they should know. Because when you create and give that child that self-belief that they can, it gives them strength. That has to come from the parents. Now, when they're there, then you mold them into the framework of our belief systems, of how we expect behavior and manners and tarbiyah, all of that. But if you inside are breaking a child, then they will eventually break those rules that you want to implement. Whereas if you build that child, then you show them your framework. Because they respect what you've given them, they'll respect the laws of the Sharia that you're trying to implement.
But sometimes we've seen the ones that have been through, I guess, a tough life, tough childhood, they end up being the misfits and the movers and shakers of the world. It's not always the one that have been kind of developed or that have been encouraged from a very early age to be good, and it's not always the guys who had the guidance.
So if the question is, how can we best raise our children? The answer is by giving them love and support. If the question then is that, well, if we give them love and support, what about the kids that didn't get love and support? How comes they turned out okay?
Yeah.
Right? So then you have to ask, is that as a parent, do you think giving love and support is bad?
No, it's not bad.
No, right? So if you can, you should. Now, if you don't give love and support because of whatever situation you're in, then your child has had not the best of your experience. Now, does that mean that your child will not grow up to be good? No. It means that you, through your difficulties, were not able to give that love and support, maybe for whatever reason. But that child has that guidance and that rahmah from Allah, that He's taken him and given him the opportunities because He tested him when he was younger. Because your tests come at different times. It may be that your childhood was hard, right? And that's why there is a pouring rahmah on you as you're going older, because you passed, right? And some kids, you'll see that they had all this love and support at a young age, but then they have their tests later. You don't know when your tests are going to come. It may be that your childhood was tough and then your adulthood is easy. Or it may be that your life before 40 and a life after 40 are two different ones.
So Clever IQ, Darul Ihsan, and eventually family clinics. How do you do all of this?
I don't actually do all of this. I think a lot of it is those that are around me. And I have a very supportive team. And I have very good friends. And I have very good consultants. And I have a very good team. And I work with them and we work together. And because we believe in what we're doing, we are able to achieve as a result. So a lot of it is us sitting and worrying and thinking about what can we do to make something easier, make something better. And a lot of it grew as a result of us having that concern. Darul Ihsan was after Clever IQ because we saw that we needed a Islamic education that was similar to what children were getting in schools. Right? So we have qualified teachers and they bring that kind of fun element into teaching Islam.
Okay.
Right? So the kids, if they're learning about Nuh alayhi salam, they'll build a boat. They'll experience what all of these things is. So it's a very kind of sensory Waldorf approach that we take, that you will love coming to this. That's our main objective, is that you love coming, that you are like, that school, these are my friends. This is my community. I don't ever want a child some kids go to really good schools, but they feel left out. And what they have is when they come to us, that's their community. They're like, if they have birthday parties, they'll be like, I want to bring this group because this is where they're safe.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the, I think, beautiful things about the British education framework is how they make everything so interactive and fun. And even my children, they don't hate going to school. But unfortunately, in some of the developing countries, education is it's tedious. It's hard, man.
What's really amazing is that the idea of education should be that we should be examining what we do and what we think, right? They asked the question like, how do you define an educated person? If I was to ask you that, what would you say is an educated person?
Educated person. I would say someone who is responsible.
Okay, good.
Someone who really understands the consequences of their actions. And I think that for me, that would be an educated person. They don't have to be necessarily a PhD holder or something.
I agree with that. I would only put a slight tinge on that. I would say the thing that really defines us as human beings is our ability to reason.
Yeah.
Right? Our intellect.
Yeah.
And the intellect is all about examination. And the question why is specifically for human beings. To be able to ask the question, why do we do what we do? And I think an educated person is the one that asks the question, why do we do what we do?
It's amazing. No, definitely, you're absolutely right. Hey guys, I hope you have been enjoying today's episode of Side by Side. This episode was brought to you by Get Micro, a web design agency that's based in London who create beautiful websites for entrepreneurs and small and medium-sized businesses for less than £900 delivered within 10 days or less. If you are looking for a beautifully crafted website to express your products, services, or your ideas, please visit Get Micro. If you have been enjoying our episode so far, please do us a favor and subscribe to the channel on the platform you are tuned into, as it is your subscription that motivates us to keep continuing with our effort every single episode. With that said, let's get straight into the show. And if we can't question, then what are we?
Well, this is the thing, right? That's what is the defining criteria of being human, right?
Absolutely. And it's such a powerful thing that Allah has instilled in us. And it's one of the abilities that only He has. And He's given it to us to be able to decide. Subhanallah. Now, what's happening around the world is quite... We're living in a very strange time, especially for the Muslim people. I mean, on one hand, you've got our brothers and sisters across the Middle East and Africa, who are suffering. One might think, yeah, that's happening in Middle East, but we're still safe. Ultimately, human beings are such that when push comes to shove, you end up thinking about yourself. But that's not the case anymore. Whether it's in Bangladesh, whether it's in UK, whether it's in Middle East, it seems to me like there is no space for Muslims in this world anymore.
Wow. There's no space for Muslims?
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Why?
Because no matter where you go, there's something about you. Someone's got an opinion about you. Someone's going to say something about you. You're going to get penalized. If you have a certain views, you'll get penalized.
No, we will always have views, right? Because our views and the way we are shaped and the way we think is hopefully by the blessing of the Quran and the Sunnah, right? That's our framework. Now, we live by that. This is our truth. Now, we're not expecting to live in this life for free. We're not expecting to live in this life without being tested. And if you look at the people of Palestine, how and what they've gone through, and then I just keep hearing the same things in the media, Hasbi Allahu ni'mal wakil, despite what's happened. And I think, look at their fortitude, look at their faith, look at their iman. And this is something we have to learn from. That this mother has just lost her child and she's saying, Hasbi Allahu ni'mal wakil. And what are we complaining about? We don't have anything as difficult as what they're going through. They've gone through the real struggle. So for us, we're fortunate that Allah has let us see that as a sign that, look, where is our faith?
What are we supposed to learn from all of this? What's happening around the world?
It's that A, we're fortunate. B, when we see this suffering and we're in this space that has wealth and those spaces don't have wealth, then a portion of what we have, we should certainly be giving, because we're going to be tested with that. With that rizq that you think belongs to you doesn't, right? Because he's given it to you to look after. And then if you're feeling like this is happening here, then it's our duty to give towards that. And that's just on a very primary, basic level. But then there's also skills that you can maybe offer to countries that are developing, that you can add value to. Like one of the things we do is that we have online tuition for students in Bangladesh, for students in Africa, so that they can benefit from what we get here. And that's, for us, like when you have students from Cambridge and Oxford, a lot of them want to be making that, they want to be giving to help other communities. And it's not necessarily, we have tutors that are non-Muslims, but they want to be part of making the world a better place. And that's really something that we've been sent to do. When the Prophet ﷺ came, he came and made the world a better place. Every day when we are here, our duty is, in whatever capacity we can, to make the world a better place. However we do it. If we focus on everything that is preventing us from being good, then we ourselves will be of those that have given up. That's not who we are.
So why do you think it's happening though? What's everything that's happening to the Muslims? Why is it happening? Is it because, are we to be blamed for what's happening, or are we at a disadvantage?
Specifically
here, Middle East, Africa, wherever it may be. Why is it that Muslims are getting attacked everywhere? I'm not asking you to kind of answer that question. I'm just asking you to try and shed some light on this.
It's really difficult, like, to answer why is it, because ultimately, I guess one of the ways that I would look at it, and if I look at my own personal struggles, and then I look at it as a microcosm of me, and then I look at society, and I think that whatever I'm going through, I think it's because this is Allah's way of purifying me. And then I think maybe on a global scale, that this also for the Muslim community is, we're going through our trials and we're going through our tests so that we as a ummah are also purified. Right? Because ultimately Allah has told us that we will be tested. And at the end of it, for us, if we're expecting life to be without problems, then I don't know if that's reasonable.
No, that's not.
So we're expecting that, right? As Muslims, we expect problems, whether it's here, whether it's abroad. It's a natural outcome of being human. And I think equally, maybe in other societies, they too may be experiencing hardship and trials and difficulties, and they might be wondering, why me? But they're also being tested, because ultimately, Allah is the governor and he governs, and no one is going to be tested less than anyone else. Everyone is going to be tested according to what they can bear. So as a community, we must be strong, because Allah wouldn't test us if we couldn't take it.
Sometimes I think, what? This country is messed, man. I need to leave. I need to go to a country where I would be more welcomed. Am I wrong to have that thinking?
Are you wrong to think that
I should leave the UK and be I guess, go to a more Muslim country where you're not, I guess, it's like indirect insult. All these riots, protests, abuse. It seems like it's like indirect. I haven't been insulted, but I just feel insulted because I'm a Muslim, because I'm a brown man. Am I wrong to think, what, this place is not for me, man?
Do you know, I remember asking my mum when I was young, like, oh, I want to move abroad and go and live in a Muslim country. And do you know what she said to me? She said to me that, listen, your rizq is written. Where you're going to get your rizq from, you will get it. And Allah will take you there. And if you're not in a Muslim country or where you want to be and you're here, it's because your rizq is from here. And that means that whatever you're experiencing here, you have to overcome it yourself. If you're thinking of running away, it's not happening because you're here. That means that you have to overcome what it is within yourself that's making you want to run. Because you're set here. So that means you have to be brave, you have to be strong, and you have to engage and understand what to do. So for example, we had our Darul Ihsan holiday camps. We run camps over the summer. And there was riots going on. And we had Muslim parents, mums, that called and they're like, I'm scared to bring my child to the camp. What if something happens? And they're genuinely scared. How are they going to go on public transport and so on? But do you know what? They still came. These women still came with their kids because they have strength and they have tawakkul. And they came in and they had, there's this word in Bangla, bharosha. Allah, Allah, I trust him and he will look after me.
Subhanallah. No, it's very... You definitely debunked my thinking.
No, I know you're a brave guy.
No. You know what? Like, you might be brave, but all this stuff, they build up and they really start sinking in.
You know what? You're right. It can... You see, it's like stacking.
Yeah.
Right? But it's really important for us as human beings to unstack and unpick these different external voices because they begin to become our voice. So you have to be able to examine the voices that are making you think these things. Because
and that's one of your job, isn't it? Examining people and what they're going through in life through, I believe, family clinics.
I think a lot of the time for family clinics, what we do is rather than examine people, what we look to do is examine situations and examine why is it that this is happening and what are the tensions. Because a lot of the time I see in families is that the husband and wife have children, they love each other. But between them, so many things have stacked because of their external pressures that what exists between them has become the focus, and they're not able to see that they're actually still a team, but everything else has been unexamined. So I help to examine what the issues are, not examine people, but examine what are the issues that is preventing them from being free. Because as human beings, we were created free. And then we trap ourselves in materialism, in the dunya, in the nafs and shaitan, and all of these things prevent us from being that joyful, happy people that we actually are inside.
Before we started the show, we were talking about why I look tense today. Now, and then I asked you, like, how do you know? And can someone learn to read, people's, expressions? And then we said, let's save that for the podcast. Can you learn to understand what people are going through? Can you just look at them and try and piece up what they might be going through?
I think there is a requirement from all of us to be empathetic to somebody else's difficulties. And that requires us to have an amount of compassion. The Prophet ﷺ could see people coming to him, and they would come to him with his pressures and so on. And when they were sat with him, it would all slowly go away, because he would sit and he would give them time and he would listen to them, not from a place where internally he was thinking about other things. He was present with them and he genuinely cared about them and he loved them as people. And it's like when you have a problem and you're young and you tell your mum, and she makes you feel better because she has that pure unconditional love for you. You can't buy that. And then you feel better. You've talked to your mum, it feels better. Did your mum learn it in a book? No. She just loves you. She cares about you. And that's when you're able to talk to someone that genuinely cares about you, you'll feel better, because they're not there thinking, oh, I have to do this, this, this. They're there for you and they're present with you.
Do you think majority of the time it's fear that makes people do what they do? Because you know what you just said, like, it's just that reassurance. Like, I may have a very tough day at work, and then I'll go home and my wife says, yeah, it'll be fine. But you know, like, it's not really going to be fine, but okay, it's fine. But it helps. It definitely helps. Like, you know, just telling someone about it. And when they say it's fine, do you think we fall into our fear most of the time?
I think that every human being has different internal psychologies, right? And when you have someone in your life that can give you that reassurance, know that you're fortunate. If you have someone that you can go home to that can tell you everything's going to be all right, and you might not believe them, or you might believe them, it's better than coming home and not having someone that you can even share that with.
Or worse, they work against you, or they say something like to add more fuel to that fire or that pain.
And if that is the case, then that means that is something you as the man will have to learn. That, okay, I have to be stronger because I have to be able to reassure myself, right? Because it might be that you're going home and telling her, and it's like you're offloading and she's reassuring you. But you have to get to a place where she can come to you and you're reassuring her, because it's that balance between a husband and a wife. Is that where is it and how is it that you both are working harmoniously?
Wow. Oh, that's very, very, very important, because I've realized it's generally, you analyze situations that you're probably going through in life, and then it's almost always there's a fear in the end that's making someone do what they're doing.
And I'm glad you said that, right? Because there's only so long you can live in your head.
Yeah.
Your head will sit and give you all the threats in the world. Leave it. At one point, you have to just be like, do you know what? I submit to Allah. Hasbi Allahu ni'mal wakil. I trust him. He is the best disposer of my affairs, because you're not really analyzing, you're worrying.
You know, one fear I have all the time, and more so now with these riots going on, you know, what they say, like they're going to attack you with acid or something like that. And that is like a huge fear. Like when I go outside, I'm like looking right, left, like just to see if anyone's around me.
What's going to happen to you if somebody throws acid on you?
Like
you're going to lose your pretty looks.
Yeah.
It's all right, don't worry, you're married. Go home, she'll reassure you. It's okay, you look okay.
But how do I get rid of that fear?
How do you get rid of the fear that somebody might throw acid on you?
Yeah.
How do you know that before they don't throw acid on you that somebody might run you over? How do you know that before you get run over, you might not get killed? You see, that road just doesn't end. It's never ending, because there's one problem over another. At one point, you have to draw a line and say, no, if this happens to me, this is Allah's will, thank you. Alhamdulillah, this has happened. And then you pray that, okay, it doesn't happen, but if it does, it's in God's hands, because either way, both of them are not in your control. The only thing you can control is submitting to him and trusting him.
Subhanallah.
right?
That is so powerful, man.
I mean, it's...
I feel better.
Okay, but it's not
already.
right. It's for you to say, like, is it right or wrong? See, for you, it's like, if you trust in him before you leave the house, that please don't let this happen to me. But if it does happen, then
accept.
this was your will that I accept. Because what are we apart from slaves? Our duty is his will is better than our will, right?
Wow, that's powerful, man. Because honestly, because I walk to gym and it does. It used to until now worry me, but alhamdulillah, I'm good now. I feel better.
Mashallah.
It's like when you go to a doctor, you're just telling them your problem. They may not even prescribe the medicine, but you just feel better already.
No, I
Unless
understand.
there's something critically wrong, of course. Talk to me about Bangladesh, man. You're a Bangladeshi, Bengali. You're very specific on how you are referred to as. You did correct me before the show. So you're a Bengali or Bengali or what?
Bengali, whichever you prefer.
Why is there so many ways of saying it? Bengali, Bangladeshi.
Well, I guess Bangladeshi is if you're from Bangladesh, and Bengal existed pre-Bangladesh. So I assume that it's Bengali. There was always Bengali before Bangladeshi. And then once the creation of Bangladesh happened, then it was Bangladeshi.
Bengali, Bangladeshi. It's like English and British. I think that's the difference. You can't be English, but you can't be British.
Yes, unless you're white, then you can be English and British, I suppose.
In fact, David Lammy was arguing that he's English.
Okay.
And he was saying how his ancestors and someone married someone and then they're all English somehow.
What do you think of that?
I don't know. I just find it quite strange that I think after I listen to him, I mean, sometimes I try and avoid listening to these debates, but you think, you know what? Maybe he's got a point.
How do you see yourself?
Bengali.
Bengali?
Yeah. I'm a Bengali and I'm a Muslim.
Okay. So, like, in terms of your children's identities, if they ask you, what am I, Dad? What do you say?
Bengali.
You're Bengali.
Yeah, they're Bengalis.
So their identities, you're Bengali or Bangladeshi or British Bangladeshi or British, how do you see?
Bro, this British Bangladeshi, I do have a problem with.
Okay.
Because ultimately it's like we are adding British to your name as if you're not worthy enough as a person already.
Okay.
It's like a lot of people say, hey, we're British Bangladeshis and we're British this and we're British that. Like, why does it need to be British for you to be worthy of something or being an individual?
Do you think that's like there's a colonial...
I think so. And I hate to introduce myself as a British Bangladeshi.
Do you think, having been brought up in Bangladesh, that you have a real strong affinity to your identity that many that are not born and brought up in Bangladesh don't have in the UK?
I think maybe a bit of that, but I think a lot of reading as well, like into the past of what's happened and what our people went through and what, unfortunately, the Western colonizers, not just British, Western European colonizers have done to our part of the world. So I think, I don't know, it's not resentment, is it? But it's just that dislike, like that they've done that to us. And why would I want to now feel like I'm worthy because I'm British? Yes, I will take the facilities, what the citizenship provides as it provides to everyone else, but that's not my introduction.
Because for me, when I come, like if I've gone abroad and I return to the UK, I feel like London is home. So I do find an affinity with London. I do see myself as a Londoner. How about you?
It's just, London is an amazing place. I'm not going to lie. Like, it is a great place. It's probably one of the best places that I've been to. I've been to America. I've been to even Middle East.
You're quite well traveled, aren't you?
Yeah. So it's like when you go to China. Bro,
you've been to China?
Yeah, I've been to China. And
whereabouts in China?
I've been to Beijing. I've been to Guangzhou. I've been to Shenzhen.
And can you speak Chinese?
No.
Okay.
No, I've been as in like for business.
Is that with Sunnah Mosque?
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you come out and it's like, Ya Allah, I can breathe now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't enjoy China?
No.
What about the food?
I had to take my pot noodles with me.
From the UK?
Yeah.
You went to China and had British
made pot noodles in China. Because you don't know what.
What were you afraid of?
I mean, the halalness of they don't recognize, they don't know. Generally,
There's-
the people, they
there's-
don't know what halal is unless you're in a specific area. If you're in Guangzhou, then there's a lot of halal restaurants. They understand what halal is. But if you're in Shenzhen or somewhere else, mate, like, you have to even do Google Translate. I mean, generally, Google doesn't even work there, but yeah. But look, talk to me about Bangladesh. Like, what's happening? I mean, we've spoken about Bangladesh. Everyone's aware of Bangladesh, but where is Bangladesh going? That's what I want to know. What's the future of Bangladesh? What do you think?
I think that firstly, I think what's been happening and the loss of life is tragic. And I think that's been, it's been very sad to see. And I think that it's good that it's not fallen into the hands of the army, and that there's an interim government, and that there's going to be elections. So I think that it hasn't been a catastrophe. I think it's been managed, and it seems like it's a little bit more stable. But we're not getting a lot of information. But I understand that from family and friends that are in Bangladesh, that it's been quite a traumatic time for them. And I think I worry more about the future generations of these students and the losses of the mothers, how they're coping.
I mean, I was speaking to a business friend of mine from Dhaka. They make luxury furnitures and home interiors. And he was saying, like, man, like, it's chaotic. Maybe if you have some business, send it our way.
Really?
Because on one side, he's very happy that it's happened. But on the other side, he's saying, well, the bank has been emptied by
Looters.
the departing government officials. And now people can't even withdraw money from ATM machines because there is no supply of money.
So how are they surviving?
Probably from savings, probably from the money that they had.
So what, are you saying that it's been ransacked by?
That's what my good friend is saying, and he's not just say nobody. He is someone
Like
quite well established in Dhaka, who's got so many connections because he's doing luxury furnitures. And
so has his personal bank accounts been frozen, or
he's saying
emptied?
like, look, we can't access capital. We cannot, it's difficult. We need fresh money coming in.
And is it possible now for you to do business with Bangladesh?
Bro, I'm like, how are we supposed to do business? I don't know. I would love to do business because before this happened, so the reason why we worked with this brother, a friend of mine, he can deliver quality, like furnitures like this, in Bangladesh, quality.
Right, which is, and everything in Bangladesh is like you want quality, and time management is quite important.
And we still face challenges even then, like materials would cost, like you would imagine this material should cost cheaper less in Bangladesh. No, there's taxations that are
crazy
there for luxury items, materials or raw materials. So that was a challenge. So we couldn't work with him. We've done few deals with him, like making some furniture for our stores, and then we had to stop. And then now it's gone even more backwards. So I just worry, like, how is it a good thing? Are there external influences? Some people are saying there are external influences as well, like other people from other countries, Western countries. They have their own agendas geopolitically, and they want to use Bangladesh as a bay or something to, I suppose, get closer to who they consider.
I mean, there's always going to be external interests there's always people that are looking to exploit people's grievances, right? And that's something now for Bangladesh to be able to manage. And I think Dr. Yunus he's quite an experienced international personality, and he will be able, I hope, to be,
inshallah, I do hope to,
managing and understanding who's coming in where and how to best serve the people of that land, because that's what they require. They need people to look after them and give them stability and bring a rule of law in so that they can progress. And because that's what you want as a human being for your fellow human being, that you want them to have stability. You don't want to live in a land which is consistently and under instability.
A lot of neighboring countries are getting inspired by what's happened in Bangladesh, and they are apparently thinking to perhaps, do the same thing for their own country. I've seen some videos where they're talking about a uprising in Pakistan or something, because obviously Imran Khan was, taken down, not in a democratic way, for sure. So it's a very challenging time. And personally, I wanted to do stuff in Bangladesh because I'm a Bangladeshi and I want to put my country on the map. But it's just not happening. There are a lot of fake news going around as well, by the way. A lot of...
Can I just pause for 1 second? I've heard that in Bangladesh, they have like some oud trees.
Yeah.
And you get like some of the best oud in the world from... And this could be a really...
Huge supply of oud across the world from Bangladesh.
From Bangladesh.
Yeah, from Bangladesh. India, Cambodia, Malaysia, Indonesia. But Bangladesh is a very big supplier of oud.
I mean, I'm expecting then there's going to be some interesting new ventures for you.
Inshallah. And you know what? There are some Middle Eastern companies that are doing the carbon footprint offsetting in Bangladesh, growing oud trees.
Really?
So it's like a recycling program where they get supplies from the waste. So that's very interesting. But genuinely, I am really confused about Bangladesh. Honestly, like genuinely, I have some thoughts. Okay, this is what's going to happen. This is what
I feel like you are very. I can feel your concern for Bangladesh. I think it lies very close to your heart,
Absolutely.
and you want prosperity to come.
I want
there.
prosperity.
Yeah.
I see every reason for it to do well.
Yes.
But it's the mismanagement. It's us. It's the people that are running the country, that are within the country.
Would you consider going to Bangladesh and joining a party or opening your own Kazi Shafiqur party, maybe?
Bro, politics is one of the careers that I pray to Allah that He keeps me away from, because with politics, look what happened to Sheikh Hasina. Like one day you're sleeping, you're a prime minister of a country where the whole country is in your palm. You wake up the next morning, what happens to you?
Shocking.
You're nothing. Even every election happens in this country. Like you see the MP and the ministers, and they're in the parliament, they're speaking. They're so powerful and they're so important. But come the election time again, they're like nothing again. So I find that a career to be very. While it's fun, it looks fun from outside, but I'm sure there's so many people have so many interests on you. They want to use you to advance.
Would you
their
not
own
say
agendas.
there's a similarity with business then?
Business you have,
Or even in the media, such as yourself?
in media, yes. If you are not independent, like podcasting, I'm happy with, because you know what, we get to speak about things that we want to speak about.
If we look at the three, right, and you look at politics, podcasting, or business, and you mentioned in politics, you could have power today and it's gone tomorrow. But then surely in business, you could have money today and it's gone tomorrow. Or in the podcast, equally, you could have guests and viewers today and they're gone tomorrow.
Yeah, because you might say something that will just finish you up.
So then in all of these careers, surely there's risks.
There are risks, but I think with politics, that risk is so volatile. It's like launching a retail shop business and launching a airline, which I also tried to do.
You did, yeah.
Which one is more riskier? Which one is more scarier? Which one will like make you kaput quicker? Definitely the airline.
Do you think like the airline, because that was quite I would say, not only ambitious, but it took a lot of steel, determination for you to do that. Do you think following that and the result of that, do you think that's affected how you see business today? Would you say that you were a different man before that 100%, and after that? And how
in a positive way, because what people see is Sunnah Mosque, and then my personal venture, Firnas, which I tried to push forward. With Sunnah Mosque, it was too early for anyone to see my business leadership, my capabilities. before I moved over for various reasons why I decided to do what I done with Firnas, my initiative. But I didn't really go to university, or I didn't have a family background of business where my father was a businessman or something. Or
Your father was?
he was an imam. He was an imam in
Mashallah.
Enfield Mosque. He had small businesses like stalls in bazaars and markets in Bangladesh.
Where would you say your business entrepreneurial acumen came from?
The idea of not having and the idea of proving.
Okay.
Because I haven't, remember I was telling you, I didn't really particularly enjoy education because I probably felt like I was stupid, like I was not good enough for it. And that just put me off. Or maybe Allah has made me in such a way that I have a different purpose for what I'm supposed to do.
Mm.
So I think it was always the idea of I need to prove myself. And I think that's what it was. But it's definitely made me a much, 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 much stronger person. I learned everything that I've learned through that journey.
Can I ask, when you say I need to prove myself, what was it that you needed to prove? That I am what?
Perhaps my self-worth, my abilities, it's like when you have a degree or something, the world recognizes that degree. It's a universal language. Everyone knows what that degree means. But when you're an entrepreneur in the making, or even when you've made it, you're still you still don't have that universal recognition.
So was it that I need recognition that I am a successful?
I needed to prove to myself what people are saying is not true.
Right. So you needed to combat the negativity.
Yeah.
That those that said you couldn't.
Yeah.
So you have quite a powerful spirit in that. I want to be successful, and I have to go against all the naysayers.
100%.
Amazing.
I had to do it, and
that came with its own hardships. I imagine
that came with its own struggle.
What would you say was your hardest, biggest life lesson in that journey?
In Firnas' journey?
No.
Generally,
what would you say? Because sometimes the hardest struggles are the ones that we gain the most wisdom from. What would you say has been one thing that you've done that has, at the time, was horrific, but afterwards you're thankful that Allah put you through that because He gave you so much wisdom and knowledge from that?
When Firnas came crashing down, when my everything was going, as it should, it was planned as it should, and then no matter how much I tried to push forward, Allah tried to push me away, and then I didn't listen. I still didn't listen. I kept on pushing and pushing and pushing. With sheer determination, I made a lot of progress, but at the end, Allah said,
"This is not.
Nah, don't go any further. I'm going to take it away from you. You're just..."
So would you, now that you've come to that realization, would you still go back after He's pulled you away from it?
Now that I know what I've known, now that I've learned what I've learned, I think Allah has temporarily taken it away from me because He knew if I kept on going, then I would have hurt myself even in a bigger way. Now that I've taken stock of the situation, I've learned what I've learned, and the thinking that came afterwards, the reflections, when you start analyzing what went wrong, what could have been done better. Now I know what to do and what not to do. More importantly, what not to do.
The learning is quite...
It was too much learning in one go. And my brain was just exploding. But alhamdulillah, I don't know. Sometimes I think, how did I cope? I mean, it happened when it came crashing down. It was lockdown time as well. So it was hard, man. It was difficult. And that's where my fitness journey came as well.
Oh, is that when you started?
It was an escape mechanism. It was to
get your mind off it.
Moving, yeah. Right.
Because you did really well, by the way. You've done really well.
Alhamdulillah, we'll save that for your show, inshallah.
No problem.
Mozammel bhai, it's been a absolute pleasure talking to you. Let's end with a quick fire question that we usually do. What is your biggest fear?
To not have freedom.
The Muslim speaker or scholar that you listen to or watch the most?
Mufti Menk.
What's your favorite holiday destination?
Makkah, Medina.
Amazing. And your favorite hobby?
Ooh. My favorite hobby?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a great question. You know what? Sometimes we live our lives in such a way that my life, I feel like everything I do is my hobby. Like what I do in my daily
come on,
life.
man.
Honestly,
No.
there
Say
isn't
something that you really, really love. Like,
okay.
if someone told you, like, let's do this, and you said, you know
Okay,
what,
right
forget
now,
all of this,
let me
I'm
tell
gonna
you
go.
something. Right now, me being here is my hobby. I'm loving this. Just sitting here with you, it's great.
Would you say that's your favorite hobby, though?
Okay, let me say this. If I'm teaching, I love it. If I'm talking to my customers, I love it. If I'm going to sit and have a meal with my family, I love it. Now, all of these things, even if, which one of these would I replace over the other? None. Because everything that's happening in my life, I'm grateful for. Because they're all simultaneously things that I'm enjoying. The question is more that, what is it that you don't enjoy? Because I would say that my life, alhamdulillah, is like I enjoy my life. I'm grateful.
Alhamdulillah. Brother Adel Mozammel, thank you so much for joining us on Side by Side.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Viewers and listeners, thank you for tuning in. Wherever you are tuning in from, it is my wish and hope that you are well. If you have found today's episode interesting and insightful, please do consider subscribing to our channel on the platform you are tuned into. It is your subscription that motivates us to keep edging forward, episode by episode. Don't forget to comment below with any guest recommendations and questions you may have. And please share with your family and friends. And I want to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, Get Micro, for making today's episode happen. With that said, I will see you on our next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.